Good morning, everyone. This is Kyle from Bywater Solutions, and today I am going to take you through the Clients tab of Libki Web Administration. As you can see, I have it already pulled up. In a lot of ways, it's very similar to the Users tab that we covered previously, but it does have a good number of differences. For example, if we look at this first element, you'll see that this is something we don't have. This is the client location filter. So if you have multiple locations for your clients in your library or building, whatever you may have, you can use this to limit it to just the clients of a particular location. Let's say that you are in the children's room. You probably only want to see the children's room clients, so that it's easier to find what you're looking for. So you can just click on the children's room button and all the other clients disappear. You can see you now have only the children's room clients. You can flip between them quite quickly and easily, all the different ones. You can go back to having them unfiltered so that you can see all of the locations. All right. The next element we have is the refresh button. Similar to the refresh button that we saw in the Users tab, it refreshes this table. The biggest difference is that this one is on a timer, and that's because this data, it goes stale really fast, way faster than the data on the Users tab would, because it's changing even from minute to minute when patrons are logged in. So we automatically refresh this data 2 times a minute, once every 30 seconds. And you can see that right here with this counter that counts down from 30 to 0. When it hits 0, it refreshes and starts again. You can also refresh it manually if you don't want to. If you need to do something, you know someone just logged in and you need to add some time to their session, you don't want to wait the full 30 seconds. You can just go ahead and click this circular arrow button. This is a button, and when you click it, you will see the counter immediately resets to 30, and if you're quick, you'll see the processing box show up over the table. And that shows up whenever Libki is fetching data from the server to refresh that table. It's very fast, so it only shows up for the blink of an eye. The next thing you'll see are the user buttons. These are exactly the same as the ones on the Users tab. So they do. If you want to know in depth what these do, you can refer to that video about the Users tab. For a quick overview, the new Users tab lets you create a user manually. The new Guest tab lets you create a guest very quickly, so it just automatically creates a numbered username and a PIN, whether you can scribble down on a piece of paper and give to a guest if they have walked up. Multiple guests lets you generate a batch of guest accounts in advance and then print out the username and PIN on slips of paper that you can cut out, or if you have a receipt printer, you can print it on receipt paper. The next set of buttons are very interesting. These let you do things to all of the computers. So with a caveat, the first one is turn on all computers. This is the one with a caveat because this uses Wake on LAN, which is a feature of TCP/IP, if I recall correctly. And the big problem is this will only work if your server is on the same network as your Libki computers. If it is hosted in the cloud, if it is hosted on another network, this is never going to function. However, the other two should, because these two are controlled by the client receiving messages from the server. So these can work across different networks. And it's restart all clients, which restarts the computers using the operating system's restart function. And turn off all clients. So that initiates the standard operating system shutdown. The next thing you'll see is the heart of the page, which is the table of clients. You'll see a lot of different data on here. and there are a lot of columns that are blank if there is no one logged in to that client. So at the top, you can see you can choose how many entries you see at a time. The default is 10. If you have a larger or a taller monitor, you can show more than that if you want. The search bar, it searches just like the user's one. Basically, for the most part, if you can see the data in the table that we are looking at, then you can type it into the search bar to limit it. It does do a server-side search, so it's not just filtering this. That's why it might not work exactly like the way you think all the time. If you think it's searching incorrectly on something, please file a bug report so we can take a look at it. All right. So to go over the different columns, we have name. That is the client name. It will always show. Location is the client location. If you have chosen to use them, it could possibly be blank. If you only have one location and you did not bother to specify one, you're going to see nothing here. Otherwise, it is whatever logical location grouping you chose. Type is another way to categorize your clients. We don't have any types set, but for example, maybe in your computer lab you have computers dedicated to internet research and computers dedicated to multimedia editing. So they are of different types. You could have different session lengths for them, for example. So if you have types set, you would see them in that column. The next column is session status. This is almost always going to be active, but you can pause a session if you have enabled that feature on the Libki client. If you have, whenever you're logged into Libki, into the client, you will see, along with the logout button, a pause session button. So that is useful in the case where someone maybe needs to go get their print jobs, or maybe they need to go to the restroom. Anything where they're not done, but they need to be able to walk away for a period of time. When a session is paused, the counters, their session minutes continue to count down. Other than that, it looks very similar to the login screen. So when they come back, they will need to log in from the pause session screen with their username and password, the same they would have if they had logged in. The next is the username. So basically, most of this stuff after this, you will only see if you have an active session. So this is whoever is logged in. Daily minutes is the total amount of minutes they have remaining for the day, versus the session minutes, which is really more important to this tab, and that is how many minutes they have for this session. When this hits 0, they are automatically logged off. The next is the user status. This is usually going to be enabled. A user can be disabled. So you can disable a user, and what that will do is prevent them from logging in the future. It does not automatically kick them off or anything like that. Notes. This, if you have any user notes, they will show up in this column. Troublemaker shows if they have been marked a troublemaker or not, and we'll talk about that again in a minute. Reserve. If there is a reservation on this computer, whether there's someone logged in or not, this will show up, and that way you can know if there are reservations. From basically tells you what the source of the user is. I think there might be a bug in the current version where this isn't showing, but theoretically it will tell you if you manually created this user, if this user came from, was automatically created from SIP, if it was automatically created from LDAP, things like that. So it's basically the source of that user. Status will tell you if this client is online or offline. You see all of mine are online. Each client sends a heartbeat every so often to the Libki server to let it know I am here, I am still around. If the Libki server doesn't see that heartbeat in a given amount of time, it will go ahead and set that client to offline. If it then sees the heartbeat again, it will go back online. When it is offline, patrons will not be able to place reservations on that computer. All right, so the next thing we have is this toolbar. So you can see it has many buttons. The first is modify time. On this page, on this tab, the Clients tab, modify time will alter the user's session minutes. So they are currently logged in somewhere. Maybe they just need a few more minutes to finish printing or to write that last paragraph and save it to their their flash drive, if people still use those, to Dropbox, what have you. You can use that to give them some more time. Reserve lets you place a reservation on this computer. So if you click the reserve button, you pick a date and a time, and you put in the username of the patron who wants to make that reservation. Next button is cancel reservation. Very similar. You just type in the username of the person who made that reservation on that computer, and it will go ahead and cancel it. You can do both of these actions better from the Reservations tab, but these are here for your convenience. The next is the Unlock button. So, if a patron has used the pause session feature and for some reason just can't get it to unlock, they cannot get it to unpause, you can manually unlock it for them. And it's just as if they had put in their username and password. The next is the logout feature. So maybe a patron is breaking the rules, or maybe someone just got up, maybe they were intending to come back and they got distracted, something they forgot, they just left and left their computer logged in. You can remotely log that computer out and it will immediately go back to the login screen so that someone else can use it. That's good not only to protect the patron, but also to make sure that the computers get the maximum use they can. Toggle status will toggle the troublemaker status. We covered that on the Users tab video. For anyone who didn't see that, very quickly, if someone is marked as a troublemaker, it means that they have to go to a librarian every morning that they want to use a computer and get their password reset. You want to use that if you catch people abusing their account by giving out their username and password so that other people can monopolize the computers by using more than their fair share of time using other people's accounts. Delete deletes this client from the Libki server database. So we talked about how a computer can go offline if we don't see them in a certain amount of time. If you decommission a computer so that it's never going to show back up, it's never going to come back online, it's going to stay on this list until you delete it manually. If you delete something that is not been decommissioned, it's not really a big deal. As soon as it sends that heartbeat packet again, it's going to get recreated automatically. The only problem is if you delete a computer which is currently logged in, you might not want to do that. You might want to be careful about that. Restart is the same as that restart all clients. It triggers the operating system restart, but instead of doing it for all the computers that are connected with Libki, it will do it only for the specific computer you selected. And exactly the same with the turn off button. It will shut down that particular computer, just the way the big red button up here shuts down all of the computers. All right, I believe that we have covered everything on the Clients tab. I hope this has been informative, and I look forward to the next video.